This is the case that changed everything. The story of a little girl whose death forced an entire nation to ask, how did we let this happen? Hey everyone, welcome back to True Crime Britain. We're covering some of the most heartbreaking and important true crime stories ever told. Today's case is incredibly heavy. The story of Victoria Climbie, an 8-year-old girl whose tragic death exposed one of the biggest child protection failures in British history. Before we begin, a quick content warning. This story includes details of child abuse and neglect. Please take care while listening. Victoria Adjo Climbie was born in 1991 in a small village in the Ivory Coast, West Africa. Everyone described her as joyful, always smiling, always helping her mom, always dreaming of a better life. When her great-aunt, Marie-Thérèse Quau, offered to take her to Europe to study, it sounded like a dream come true. Her parents believed she'd have opportunities they could only imagine. So in April 1999, they said a tearful goodbye as Victoria left for France with Marie, never realizing that this loving decision would lead to tragedy. At first, everything seemed fine. Victoria called home, said she was happy, said Tantine, her aunt, was taking care of her. But soon the call stopped. Marie moved her to London with a man named Carl Manning, and that's when Victoria's nightmare began. In London, Marie and Carl lived in a small flat in Brent. To neighbors, they seemed ordinary. But behind those walls, Victoria was being abused every single day. Marie was controlling and angry, while Carl simply obeyed her. What started as scolding became daily torture. Beatings, starvation, being locked in a bathroom for hours, and forced to sleep in a plastic bag inside a bathtub. Neighbors sometimes heard crying, doctors noticed bruises, social workers got reports, but no one followed through. Each time someone almost stepped in and didn't. At one hospital visit, doctors suspected deliberate burns and alerted authorities. But Marie convinced them it was an accident, blaming cultural discipline. Within 2 weeks, Victoria was sent back home, and the abuse only got worse. Over the months, Marie isolated Victoria completely. She stopped feeding her properly, stopped letting her outside, and even told people the girl was possessed. Carl kept a diary where he coldly described what they did, writing things like, "She's in the bath again. Marie says it will wash away her sins." Even through all this, Victoria was described as kind and polite. One social worker said she tried to smile through her pain. That image alone breaks your heart. By February 2000, Victoria's condition was critical. She weighed less than half of what an 8-year-old should. On the night of February 24th, Marie finally took her to the hospital, but only after she became unresponsive. Paramedics found her wrapped in a towel, unconscious. Doctors counted 128 separate injuries: burns, scars, fractures, and bruises. Despite their efforts, Victoria died the next morning. She was 8 years old. When investigators pieced together her story, they discovered that 12 different agencies, police, doctors, social workers, had contact with Victoria before she died. Not one saved her. Marie-Thérèse Quau and Carl Manning were arrested and charged with murder. During police interviews, Marie showed no emotion, claiming Victoria was possessed and that she was only disciplining her. Carl tried to appear passive, but his diary told the truth. He'd watched it all happen. In 2001, both were found guilty of murder and child cruelty. They were sentenced to life in prison. The judge said, "The suffering you caused that little girl defies belief." But the story didn't end there, because what came next changed the UK forever. Victoria's death led to a massive public inquiry led by Lord Laming. Over 400 witnesses, police, doctors, social workers, were questioned about how this child slipped through every safety net. The inquiry found devastating failures. Vital information wasn't shared. Departments didn't communicate. Visits were skipped or ignored. Reports were filed and never read. The conclusion was clear. Victoria didn't die because she was unseen. She died because she was not heard. In 2004, the British government passed the Children Act, built around a framework called Every Child Matters. It set 5 goals for every child: to be healthy, stay safe, enjoy and achieve, make a positive contribution, and have economic well-being. It also created local safeguarding children boards, where teachers, doctors, and police officers meet regularly to share information, making sure no child falls through the cracks again. Even today, every child protection training in the UK teaches Victoria's case. Her story became the foundation of modern safeguarding laws. Victoria's parents returned to the Ivory Coast with unimaginable grief, but also pride that their daughter's story saved lives. Her mother once said, "I will never stop crying for her, but I am proud that she opened people's eyes." In schools and hospitals across the UK, her photo still appears in training sessions, a reminder of why vigilance matters. Whenever a teacher or doctor notices something unusual, there's now a legal duty to report it because of her. Victoria's name became more than a case, it became a promise, never again. When we share stories like this, it's not for shock. It's to remind ourselves that silence is dangerous. If you ever notice a child who seems afraid, withdrawn, or always in trouble, don't assume someone else will act. One call can save a life. Victoria's story is painful, but it changed an entire system. And that's how we honor her. But before we close this story, I want to take a moment to talk about what Victoria's case really changed and why her name is still spoken in classrooms, hospitals, and courtrooms across the UK today. Because what came after her death wasn't just sadness, it was transformation. In the months after the trial, the British government launched one of the biggest public inquiries ever seen for a single child. Lord Laming led it, questioning over 400 professionals, doctors, police, social workers, local councils, everyone who had contact with Victoria. The findings were devastating. The report showed a chain of communication failures that stretched across 12 different agencies. Everyone had seen a piece of the puzzle, but no one ever saw the whole picture. What shocked people most was that many workers did try. They made notes, they called supervisors, but the system itself was broken. Files were lost, visits were skipped, cases were closed too early. From that report came major reforms. In 2004, the government passed the Children Act and a new national program called Every Child Matters. It changed how professionals handle any concern about a child. Doctors, teachers, and police must now share information immediately. The law also introduced the position of Children's Commissioner, whose sole job is to make sure the government listens to the voices of children. Because of those reforms, thousands of kids who might have slipped through the cracks have since been protected. And every single one of those lives is part of Victoria's legacy. Sometimes when people hear this case, they think it's just a story of failure. But it's not. It's also a story of change. Proof that even the smallest, most silenced life can force a whole country to listen. And honestly, as someone who reads these stories every week, this one hits different. Because Victoria's name doesn't fade away like most victims in old case files. It stays. Every social worker trainee, every nurse, every teacher in the UK learns about her on day one. Her photo is still used in training presentations with one sentence underneath. Remember why we do this. So tonight, when you turn off this video and go back to your world, remember Victoria. Remember that one act of kindness, one phone call, or one question could be the thing that saves someone. Her story began with silence, but it ended with change. Thank you for listening, for remembering, and for caring. I'll see you in the next video. Stay safe and take care of each other. So if you've watched this far, thank you for remembering her with me. Please like, share, and help spread awareness. Because sometimes the quietest voices need us the most.